Okay, so this is the fun part. You'll notice that I'm only allowing you to have the three primary colors and black and white. You have to mix everything for this project. It's really good practice for you guys. So I've got my paint tray set up here. Right now it looks really nice and neat. It is not going to stay this way. You might find that you want to use an additional paint tray, a plate or something to keep your colors and have more space to mix. I bought new brushes for the art room last spring semester. So they are very lightly used. They are very nice brushes. Please be nice to them and wash them out with soap and water when you're done with them for the painting session. This is acrylic paint. It's permanent stuff. Once it dries in brushes or on clothes, it is permanent. So you really got to get to washing brushes, or if you get it on your clothes, washing out your clothes before it has time to dry. All right, so these are the variety of brushes I like. I tend to like more of like the flat type of brushes, and I also like angled brushes a ton for making straight lines. I'm going to show you guys that in the demonstration. My least favorite brushes, but I think they're useful sometimes, are the round brushes. So I grabbed one of those as well, okay? So I'm going to start with my biggest brush, and I would recommend starting with the color blue. So wherever on your color wheel that you've labeled it blue, that's where I would begin. Blue is one of the nicest colors. It plays well with the other colors. And you'll get to see some of the colors don't really mix well, especially if you're like mixing shades, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's start with blue, and let's start with tints. Remember, tints are whatever the base color is, blue, plus white. Now, here's Mrs. Harvey's rule of thumb. Dark into light. So that means I'm going to keep some of my white fresh for future. Move a glob of white over here. And very little blue, dark color into light color. Very little blue. Mix that up and see what I get. And hopefully that's my lightest blue color. All right, you get a nice little baby blue. That looks really, really good for the lightest blue color. All right, I'm just gonna, next one, I'm gonna borrow just a little bit of that baby blue. And scoop in an additional glob, maybe a little bit bigger glob of the straight up blue into that baby blue. Okay, so now here's where you ask yourself a question. Do all three of my blues look different? If they look too similar, you have to adjust something. I will tell you it's easier to add in more of the dark color than it is, like say I wanted to make my baby blue even lighter. I would have to use a whole lot more white to get that lighter, rather than if I wanted to maybe make this one a little bit darker, it would take a lot less regular blue to make that dark. I hope that makes sense. Dark into light. You get the color you want a lot faster, and you waste less paint. Trust me. Do dark into light whenever possible. Okay, so let's talk about this angle brush that I love. Now, professional painters, and I'm a pretty good painter when it comes to like paint on walls painter, professional painters use an angle brush to get into the corners of the corner of the ceiling to the wall. And they use an angle brush because it helps you make incredibly straight lines. So what I would do is each one of these little pie slices, outline where you want your color to go. I'm going to make this area the baby blue area of my pie slice. And obviously my brush is a little bit too big. I can't get into this little area. So I'm going to get one of my tiny brushes. That would be probably more appropriate. Making nice straight lines. I'm also holding the paintbrush like a pencil. It gives me a lot more control. This is not a very loose painting. You know, we're not painting like Van Gogh here or Monet. So I want you to have that control. So try to hold your paintbrush like it is a pencil. Practice doing that. It might just take a little bit of practice. Okay, so I'm using my angle brush as much as I can. Now I'm finding I need to switch to my smaller brush. A bit too globby. You don't want a dry brush, but you don't want a brush that's, you know, too globby and too wet, because that's going to mess you up too. You want this to kind of be really neat. We have a lot going on in this painting, so try to keep things tidy. You know, you might have to, if you're in a hustle, you might have to get the blow dryer out so you can dry this area faster before you move on to the next area. And you can see I just went outside the lines here. That's no matter because this area is going to be the darker blue. And it'll go right over the light color. And I don't care on each pie slice if you have your shades and tints out of order. That is no matter to me at all. You can put them in any order you like. That's really just an artist decision. That's up to you. Okay. So I'm going to do, I just happen to be doing the dark blue here. I'm going to cover up that original drawing line that I used the carbon paper on. I don't want that showing through, so I'm going to make sure to go over the top of that. Good craftsmanship. Let's see, I might even have to grab a smaller brush to do this tiny little corner. And oh, I have like single hair brushes too. So I've got plenty of brushes for different uses in the studio. You're just gonna have to let me know what you need, and I will find it for you. Okay. All right, I am going to go ahead and finish my tints and my original color in this blue pie slice. Okay, so I've got my tints done. Tint, original color. You can tell with the blue, I'm going to need a second coat here after this coat dries because it's a little bit transparent. Some colors of acrylic paint are transparent and they'll just need an additional coat. So I'll take care of that later, but for now, I wanted to show you guys how to mix shades. So that's the original color, in this case blue, plus black. Now, also what's really handy is to keep a water cup next to you with a piece of paper towel. That way you don't have to get up and wash your brushes out every single time you change the color. So make sure you have some water next to you and keep your brushes in there. The only thing I would say is sometimes you'll find, and these brushes are really high quality, but if you keep them in the water bath too long, inside here there's some adhesive that keeps the bristles and the metal piece and the plastic piece all together. So if you soak these brushes overnight or something like that, that adhesive in there will wear out and this will actually fall off your brush. So be nice to your brushes and don't let them sit in water for hours and hours and hours. They'll be fine for like the 30 minutes to an hour that you're working on your painting, but overnight is bad. Okay. So shades. So I've got some of my original color here. Again, the thing I want you to remember and try is dark into light. So I'm going to take a little bit of the black and, you know, not much. I'm thinking this is probably going to be my darkest value. And this is my first shade. actually really like that color. It's really pretty. It's like a midnight blue. Okay, so that's pretty decent. I don't know if it's my darkest color yet or not. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Scoop a little bit of this fresh blue, the original color, over to a new little area. And like, if you take a look, these are the two colors, these are the two areas that I have to color yet, okay? And they're really, really tiny, so I really don't need that much paint. If you do have some bigger areas, make sure you mix yourself enough paint to cover the whole thing, because it's really hard to mix the exact same color twice. All right, so I'm gonna take a tiniest little glob of black, and hopefully this turns out to be a shade lighter. And it is. Now I have to ask myself the question, do my shades look different from my original color? So my original color is over here. In the camera, it might not look correct. I think I actually have to go just a little bit darker with the darkest shade. So I'm gonna scoop a little bit from that black and bring it over. Your darkest shade should almost look black. It's like black with a little bit of blue. I think that looks much better. It's really hard to see in the video, but they all three look different. All right. Okay, so I got my blue done, and quite honestly, once this really dries, I could probably touch up this one and this one because they're just still a little bit transparent, even though I gave them both 2 coats. So they probably need a 3rd coat. All right, moving on and looking forward. So that is blue, and blue is one of the easiest colors to mix. I would say, why don't you go ahead and do your primary colors. So do red next. Red is a really easy color to mix too for shades and tints. You get no weird results there, just like blue. However, yellow. Yellow is really nice to tints. It likes white. It plays nice with white. It does not play so nice with black. Let's see what you get. I'm going to do this on camera here because I want you to see the results that you get are not great, but that's normal. Okay, so I have some yellow in my original tray. I'm a little bit of a messy painter. This is what happens to my trays all the time. If you are also a messy painter, you feel free to grab 2 trays as well. So I'm going to go dark into light. I'm not even going to worry about the tints for yellow for now. I want you to do them, but for the demonstration purposes, I'm trying to keep this short. I'm just going to show you what happens when you mix shades of yellow. Okay, dark into light. So I'm going to scoop a little bit of yellow. Kind of gauge how much I think I'll need. Yellow's over here for me. I'll put my shades in the middle, so I don't need that much actually. All right, I'm gonna scoop a little bit of black, just a tiny bit. Oh, that's probably even too much, into this yellow. Egads, it's horrible. Okay, that is accurate though, all right? And then I would just borrow a little bit of this, put it in a new little cup, container, plate, whatever. Scoop another little bit of black, maybe a little bit more this time to make the darkest shade. Okay. And that's shades of yellow, no kidding, okay? Just make sure they look different from one another, and then they look different from the original. That is shades of yellow. You might be asking, what are we gonna do about green? There's no green. I'm not giving you green. You'll have to mix your own secondary colors. You'll have to mix your violet or purple, same thing. You'll have to mix your green, and you'll have to mix your orange. And additionally, you'll have to do shades and tints of those secondary colors. You'll also have to do the tertiary colors. Like, for example, the hyphenated ones are called tertiary colors, blue, violet. You'll also have to mix those colors. All right? Sometimes it helps if you have a classmate or a friend who's doing the same project. That way they can be mixing some colors while you're mixing other colors, and you guys can cooperate that way. I'm totally fine with that. It just saves my budget, saves me some paint. That's fine with me, and it makes your life easier. If you're flying solo on this project, good luck. All right, if you have questions, please don't be afraid to reach out. I am here for you guys. And yeah, I hope you have fun.